My name is Willow Jane Mercer. I am 16 years old, and I live in Charleston, South Carolina. I was 16 years old when I learned exactly how much I was worth to my mother. I was lying on a stretcher in a hospital trauma room. My body was broken from a car crash on a -26. There was blood everywhere. The pain was so bad I couldn't even scream. The doctors were frantic. They needed a parent's permission to do emergency surgery to save my life. They video called my mother, Harmony. A nurse held the phone in front of my face so I could see her. I wanted to see her cry. I wanted her to tell me to hold on. Instead, I saw her wearing a white sheet mask. She was at a spa. She sighed loudly, like I was interrupting her vacation. "If she doesn't make it," she said, her voice bored and cold, "just call me when it's over." The doctor froze. The room went silent. I closed my eyes and let the darkness take me. I didn't wake up for 18 days. When I finally opened my eyes, the room was quiet. My mother wasn't there. I looked at the dry erase board on the wall where they write the patient's details. Under legal guardian, my mother's name was gone. In neat block letters it said, Clarence Brooks, my grandfather. That was the moment my old life ended. But before I tell you how everything flipped, like and subscribe, drop a comment. Where are you watching from? My name is Willow Jane Mercer. I am 16 years old. To understand why I was alone on that highway, you have to understand the house on James Island. It was a beautiful house. It was white with black shutters and a big porch that wrapped all the way around. We had azalea bushes that exploded with pink flowers every spring. From the street, it looked like the kind of place where a happy family lived. It looked like the kind of place where they filmed commercials for laundry detergent or orange juice. But the inside was different. The inside was cold, even in the middle of July. My dad built the bones of that house. He was a contractor. He died when I was 6 years old. I don't remember much about him, just the smell of sawdust and peppermint gum, and the way his beard scratched my cheek when he kissed me goodnight. After he died, the house felt empty. My mother, Harmony, spent a year crying in her bedroom. I used to sit outside her door, just waiting for her to come out. I was 6, then 7. I learned how to make my own peanut butter sandwiches. I learned how to get myself to the school bus. I learned that if I was quiet, I wouldn't make Mom sadder. Then, when I was 8, everything changed. Harmony met Robert. Robert was a developer. He was loud, he was rich, and he liked things to be new. He didn't like old things. He didn't like things that were broken. And in a way, I think he saw me as something broken. I was the leftover piece from my mother's first life. They got married fast. Robert moved in. He renovated everything. He painted over the colors my dad had chosen. He tore out the kitchen cabinets my dad had installed with his own hands. He bought sleek, modern furniture that I wasn't allowed to sit on unless I had showered. Then, my sister Haven was born. That was the real end of my childhood. When they brought Haven home from the hospital, it was like the sun had finally come out for my mother. She smiled, she laughed, she held the baby constantly. I remember standing by the crib looking at this tiny, pink thing. I wanted to hold her too. "Careful, Willow," my mother snapped, pulling the baby away. "Your hands are dirty." I looked at my hands. They were clean, I had just washed them, but that didn't matter. I was the dirty one. I was the clumsy one. I was the one who didn't fit. As Haven grew up, the difference between us became a canyon. Haven was blonde like our mother. She was petite and bubbly. I had my dad's dark hair and his quiet eyes. I was tall and a little awkward. When I was 12, Robert decided he needed a home office. My bedroom, the one I had slept in since I was a baby, the one next to Mom's room, was the perfect spot. "We're moving you," Mom told me over dinner one night. She didn't ask. She just announced it while she cut Haven's steak for her. "Where?" I asked. "The room over the garage," Robert said. "It's private, you'll like it. Teenagers like privacy." "But it's freezing in the winter," I said. "And the Wi-Fi doesn't reach out there." "Don't be ungrateful, Willow," Mom said, not looking up. "Robert is spending a lot of money to fix up this office. We need the space." So I was moved. The room over the garage wasn't insulated well. In the summer, it was an oven. In the winter, I could see my breath. It was detached from the main house, connected only by a breezeway. It felt symbolic. I was physically pushed out of the family. They boxed up my things. My soccer trophies, my spelling bee ribbons, the few pictures I had of my dad, Robert, put them in plastic bins. "We're going for a minimalist look in the main house," Mom explained. "We don't want clutter." My life was clutter. Over the next 4 years, I became a ghost. I would come home from school, walk through the side gate, and go straight up the stairs to my garage room. I had a mini fridge and a microwave. I bought my own food with money I made babysitting. Sometimes, days would go by without me having a real conversation with my mother. I would watch them from my window. I saw them eating dinner in the dining room. I saw them laughing. I saw Robert pouring wine for Mom. I saw Haven telling stories with her hands waving in the air. It looked like a silent movie of a happy family. I was just the audience. At school events, it was worse. When Haven had a ballet recital, the whole family went. Mom bought new dresses. Robert brought a huge bouquet of roses. They took pictures for Facebook with captions like, "So proud of our little star." When I made the varsity track team, nobody came to the meets. "It's in the middle of the day, Willow," Mom said when I asked. "Robert has work, I have Pilates. We can't just drop everything for a track meet." One time, I won the 400-meter dash. I looked up into the bleachers, hoping that maybe, just maybe, they had surprised me. I saw other parents cheering. I saw dads hugging their daughters. I saw moms holding up signs. My section of the bleachers was empty. I walked back to the bus alone. But I wasn't completely alone. I had Grandpa. Grandpa Clarence was my dad's dad. He was a retired police chief. He was a big man with hands that looked like baseball mitts and a voice that rumbled like thunder, but he was the gentlest person I knew. He lived on Folly Beach in a small cottage that smelled like salt water and old books. He drove a beat-up truck and wore flannel shirts even when it was warm. Grandpa Clarence was the only person who looked me in the eye. He came over every Sunday, no matter what. Harmony didn't like him coming. She thought he was uncouth. She didn't like his truck parked in her driveway next to Robert's Mercedes, but she couldn't ban him completely. He was her first husband's father, and he had rights. Those Sundays were my lifeline. Grandpa would pull into the driveway, and I would run down the stairs from the garage before he even turned off the engine. "There she is," he would shout, stepping out of the truck. "There's my girl." He would hug me so hard my ribs cracked. It was the only hug I got all week. He noticed things. He noticed when I lost weight. He noticed when I had been crying. He noticed that my winter coat was getting too small. "Here," he'd say, slipping me $100 bill. "Go buy yourself a coat, a warm one, don't tell your mother." He knew. He never said it out loud, because he didn't want to cause a fight that would get him banned from the house, but he knew. He saw how they treated me. He saw the room over the garage. He saw the way Haven smirked at me when I walked into the kitchen. We had a routine. We would sit on the back porch steps, away from the main house. He would bring me a bag of boiled peanuts or a box of donuts. "How's school, kiddo?" he'd ask. "It's okay," I'd say. "How's the track team?" "I won on Tuesday." His face would light up. "You did, why didn't you call me? I would have come. I didn't want to bother you." "Willow Jane," he would say, his voice serious. "You never bother me, you are the best part of my week, you hear me?" "I hear you, Grandpa." "You just hang on," he told me once, when I was 15 and crying because Mom had forgotten my birthday. "You just hang on. You're almost 18. You're smart, you're strong. You're going to get out of here, and you're going to build a life so big that this house will look like a dollhouse in your rearview mirror." "I don't know if I can make it that long," I whispered. "I've got you," he said. "I'm always right here. If you ever need me, really need me, you call, day or night, you understand?" I nodded. I believed him, but I didn't know how soon I would need him. The dynamic in the house got worse the older I got. By the time I was 16, I was basically a tenant. I did my own laundry. I cleaned my own bathroom. When I walked into the kitchen to get a glass of water, conversation would stop. Haven was 14 then, and she was a carbon copy of Harmony. She was mean in that quiet, girlish way. She would make comments about my clothes or my hair. "Are you wearing that?" she'd ask, looking me up and down. "It looks like something from Goodwill." "It is from Goodwill," I'd say. "It's vintage." "It's trash," she'd laugh. Mom would just sip her coffee and say, "Haven, be nice," but she never meant it. She never punished her. I felt like I was invisible. I felt like I was fading away. I started to wonder if I actually existed, or if I was just a bad dream they were all having. But I wasn't a dream. I was a girl. I was a daughter. And I was about to be broken. It was Easter Sunday. In the South, Easter is a performance. It's about the clothes, the ham, the church service, and the family picture. That morning, the air was thick and humid. The sky was a weird shade of gray, heavy with rain that hadn't fallen yet. I woke up in my room over the garage. I put on a floral dress I had bought myself. I curled my hair. I wanted to look nice. I wanted to fit in. I walked across the breezeway to the main house. I could smell the ham roasting. I could hear music playing. When I walked into the kitchen, it looked like a magazine spread. There were platters of deviled eggs, bowls of potato salad, and a huge vase of lilies. Mom was there wearing a pale yellow dress. Robert was in a linen suit. Haven was wearing pink. They looked like a set. "Happy Easter," I said. Mom looked up, she frowned slightly, scanning my outfit. "Is that what you're wearing?" "Yes," I said. "Is something wrong with it?" "It's a little short," she said, "but I guess it doesn't matter. We aren't going to church this year. We're just doing the cookout here." "Oh," I said. "Okay." Grandpa Clarence arrived at noon. He was the only reason I stayed. He came in wearing his Sunday best, a navy blue suit that was a little tight in the shoulders. He brought a basket of chocolate for me and Haven. "Happy Easter, girls," he boomed. Haven took her chocolate without looking at him. "Thanks," she mumbled, already looking back at her phone. I hugged him. "Thanks, Grandpa." We ate lunch on the patio. The clouds were getting darker. The wind was picking up. I was eating my potato salad, trying to be invisible when I heard them talking. "So the flight leaves on Thursday morning," Robert was saying. "We connect in Miami, then straight to Nassau." "I can't wait," Mom said, beaming. "I need this spa break so bad. And Haven is going to love the dolphin swim." "I already bought 3 new bikinis," Haven said. I froze. My fork hovered halfway to my mouth. They were going to the Bahamas on Thursday. Thursday was my spring break, too. "What trip?" I asked. My voice sounded small, even to me. The table went quiet. Mom looked at Robert. Robert looked at his drink. "Oh," Mom said, wiping her mouth with a napkin. "We didn't tell you. We're going to the Bahamas for a long weekend." "Who is we?" I asked. "Robert, me, and Haven," she said. "And me?" I asked. Mom sighed. It was that long, suffering sigh she used when I was being difficult. "Willow, honestly. The tickets were very expensive. And it's really more of a family bonding thing. You know how busy Robert has been. We just need some time, the 3 of us." "The 3 of you," I repeated. "So I'm not family." "Don't be dramatic," Robert said. "You're 16, you don't want to hang out with us anyway. We figured you'd rather stay here. You have the house to yourself. You can have friends over. It's a treat for you, really." "A treat," I said. "Being left alone in the house while you guys go to the Bahamas is a treat." "See," Mom said to Robert. "She's always like this, ungrateful. We trust her with the house and she acts like a victim." She turned to me. "Willow, stop ruining lunch. Grandpa is here, don't make a scene." I looked at Grandpa. His face was red. He was gripping his fork so hard his knuckles were white. "Harmony," Grandpa said, his voice low. "You're taking a trip and leaving the girl behind." "She's 16, Dad," Mom snapped. "She's not a baby. She doesn't even like the beach." "That's not the point," Grandpa said. "This is none of your business," Robert interrupted. "This is our family vacation. We decided what works best for our budget and our schedule." I stood up. My chair scraped loudly against the patio stones. "I'm not hungry," I said. "Sit down, Willow," Mom ordered. "No," I said. "I think I'll go for a drive, since I'm so grown up and everything." "If you walk away now," Mom said, her voice icy, "don't expect any Easter candy." It was such a childish threat. It made me want to laugh and scream at the same time. "Enjoy the Bahamas," I said. I turned and walked away. I heard Grandpa calling my name, "Willow, wait." But I didn't wait. I couldn't let him see me cry. I ran to the front driveway. My Jeep was parked there. It was an old Wrangler that I had bought with my own money. It was the only thing I owned that felt like mine. I jumped in. I didn't have a plan. I just wanted to get away. I wanted to drive until I couldn't feel the hole in my chest where my family was supposed to be. I turned the key. The engine roared to life. I peeled out of the driveway, tires screeching. As I hit the main road, the sky opened up. The rain didn't start as a drizzle, it started as a wall of water. It pounded against the windshield. I should have turned back, I should have pulled over. But I was angry. I was blinded by tears and rain. I merged onto a minus 26. The traffic was heavy. People were rushing home from Easter dinners. I was driving in the middle lane. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel. All I could hear was Mom's voice. "We just need some time, the 3 of us." The 3 of them. Always the 3 of them. The rain was so heavy I could barely see the taillights in front of me. The road was slick with oil and water. Then, it happened. To my left, a massive 18-wheeler hit a patch of standing water. I saw it in slow motion. The truck didn't just skid, it jackknifed. The trailer swung out like a giant metal arm. It was coming right for me. I tried to swerve, I slammed on the brakes. But the Jeep didn't stop. It hydroplaned. I lost all control. The world started spinning. Impact. The sound was the loudest thing I had ever heard. Crunching metal, breaking glass, a scream that I didn't realize was coming from my own throat. My Jeep was slammed sideways. We spun across 3 lanes of traffic. Then, another impact. Another car hit me from behind. The Jeep flipped. I remember the feeling of being upside down. I remember the seatbelt cutting into my chest. I remember the roof crunching in. Then everything stopped moving. I was hanging upside down. The rain was coming in through the broken window. I tasted copper in my mouth. Blood. I tried to move my legs, but I couldn't feel them. I tried to take a breath, but my chest felt like it was full of broken glass. I looked out the shattered windshield. The world was sideways. There were sirens in the distance, blue and red lights flashing against the gray rain. I thought about the Bahamas. I thought about the white sand and the blue water. I thought about my mother sitting on a beach chair. I'm going to die, I thought. I'm 16 years old, and I'm going to die on the highway on Easter Sunday. My vision started to get fuzzy. Black spots danced in front of my eyes. I heard voices. She's in here, we need the Jaws, hurry. Someone was touching my arm. Miss, can you hear me? Stay with me. I wanted to say something. I wanted to say, call my grandpa. But no words came out, just a bubble of blood. The darkness was heavy and warm and inviting. I let it pull me under. I woke up in pieces. That is the only way I can describe it. It wasn't like waking up from a nap. It was like being pulled out of deep water by my hair. There were lights. Bright, white, blinding lights. They burned my eyes. There was noise. Beeping, shouting, the sound of metal trays clattering, the sound of clothes being cut with heavy scissors. Willow, Willow, can you hear me? A face hovered over me. A woman in blue scrubs, she looked terrified. Medical professionals aren't supposed to look terrified. That's when I knew it was bad. My chest, I wheezed. It felt like an elephant was sitting on my lungs. I know, honey, I know, you have a collapsed lung. We're taking care of it. I tried to look down, but my head was strapped to a board. I couldn't move. I could only feel. I felt cold air on my skin. My Easter dress, the one Mom hated, was gone. They had cut it off me. BP is dropping, 80/50, we're losing volume. She needs the OR, now, her spleen is ruptured, we have internal bleeding. We can't take her up yet, we don't have consent, she's a minor, she's 16. Call the parents. Do it now. The room was a blur of motion. I was the calm center of the storm, but only because I couldn't move. I felt sleepy, very, very sleepy. I have the mother on FaceTime, a nurse shouted. She's not answering the voice call, but she picked up the video. Put her in front of the patient. We need verbal consent on the record. The nurse held a phone in front of my face. My vision was blurry, but the screen was sharp. I saw my mother. She wasn't in a car. She wasn't running toward a hospital entrance. She was lying on a white table. There was soft flute music playing in the background. Her hair was wrapped in a white towel. Her face was covered in a thick green paste, a facial mask. There were cucumber slices sitting on the table next to her head. She was at the spa. What is it? Mom asked. Her voice was muffled because she was trying not to crack the face mask. I told you, I am in the middle of a platinum hydration treatment. I cannot be disturbed. Mrs. Mercer, the doctor said, his voice hard and loud. This is Dr. Evans at MUSC Trauma. Your daughter Willow has been in a severe car accident. She is critical. She has a ruptured spleen, a collapsed lung, and multiple fractures. We need to take her to surgery immediately to stop the bleeding. Do we have your consent? I watched my mother's eyes on the screen. I looked for fear. I looked for panic. I looked for love. She sighed. She actually sighed. Is she conscious? Mom asked. Barely, the doctor said. She is in shock. Let me see her. The nurse tilted the phone. I looked right at the camera. I knew what I looked like. My face was swollen. There was blood in my hair. I had a tube in my nose. Mom, I whispered. It came out as a bubble of blood. Mom didn't cry. She didn't gasp. God, Willow, she said, sounding annoyed. You always have to be so dramatic. Look at you. Then the camera moved. Mom wasn't holding the phone. Someone else was. Haven. My sister's face appeared in the corner of the screen. She was in a fluffy white robe, holding a smoothie. She looked at me broken and bleeding on a stretcher, and she didn't look sad. She looked excited. I saw her thumb move. Click. She took a screenshot. Haven, stop it, Mom said, but she didn't mean it. Dr. Evans, listen. We fly out to the Bahamas tomorrow morning. If I come down there now, I'll miss my packing window, and this facial cost $300. The room went deadly silent. The nurses stopped moving. The doctor stared at the phone. Mrs. Mercer, the doctor said, his voice shaking with rage. Your daughter is dying. If we do not operate in the next 20 minutes, she will bleed out. I need you to say yes so I can save her life. I don't care about your facial. Don't speak to me like that, Mom snapped. She's probably fine. She's tough. She's just looking for attention because we're going on a trip without her. She is bleeding internally, the doctor shouted. Fine, Mom yelled back. But I am not coming down there to sit in a waiting room for 10 hours. I have things to do. If she doesn't make it, well, just call me when it's over. I can't deal with the stress right now. My blood pressure is already too high. You are refusing to come, the nurse asked, her voice trembling. I am declining to participate in this drama, Mom said. Call my father if you need someone to hold her hand. He likes that emotional stuff, he'll deal with it. Mom, I tried again. Goodbye, Willow, she said. Try to rest. The screen went black. The silence in the trauma room was heavier than the car that had crushed me. I looked at the nurse holding the phone. She was crying. She lowered the phone and looked at me with such pity that it hurt more than my broken ribs. Did you get the consent? The surgeon asked. She said, call her father, the nurse whispered. She refused to come. My phone buzzed on the side table where they had dumped my personal effects. It lit up. The nurse glanced at it. Her eyes went wide. She turned the screen so I could see it. It was a notification from Instagram. Haven had posted the screenshot. The picture of me bleeding and dying. The caption read, finally some peace. Maybe we can actually enjoy our vacation now. Number drama queen, number karma. My heart broke. I don't mean that poetically. I felt something inside me snap. It wasn't a bone. It was the last thread connecting me to the people who were supposed to love me. They didn't just not love me. They wanted me gone. They wanted me dead so they could go to the Bahamas without guilt. The machine monitoring my heart started to scream. Beep, beep, beep. She's crashing, the doctor yelled. We're losing her pressure. Forget the consent forms. 2 physicians sign off. Emergency protocol. Get her to the OR now. The bed started moving. The lights blurred into streaks. I closed my eyes. I didn't want to fight anymore. Why should I fight to stay in a world where my mother looked at my broken body and worried about her facial? Just let go, a voice inside me whispered. It's easier, it's quiet in the dark. I felt myself drifting away. The pain started to fade. The noise became distant. I was ready to go. I don't remember this part. I was under anesthesia, my chest cut open, my life hanging by a thread. But I was told the story so many times later, by the nurses who were there, that I can see it as clearly as if I was watching a movie. While my mother was rinsing the green paste off her face, a phone rang in a small cottage on Folly Beach. Grandpa Clarence was at his kitchen sink. He was peeling shrimp for his dinner. He had an old, stained apron on over his church clothes. When the phone rang, he wiped his hands on the apron and picked it up. Brooks speaking. Chief Brooks, it was Dr. Evans. He knew my grandfather. Everyone in Charleston law enforcement knew my grandfather. This is urgent, it's Willow. They say he didn't even hang up the phone. He dropped it. He didn't take off his apron. He didn't turn off the kitchen light. He grabbed his keys and ran. Grandpa drives an old Ford F-150. It's a tank. He drove it through the flooding rain like he was chasing a suspect. He drove over curbs. He ran red lights. He drove fast enough to hydroplane, but he held that truck steady with hands made of iron. He made a 30-minute drive in 12 minutes. When he burst into the emergency room doors, he was a sight. He was soaking wet. He was wearing a suit with a shrimp-stained apron over it. He was breathing hard. Where is she? He roared. Where is my granddaughter? The security guard tried to stop him. Sir, you can't go back there. I am Chief Clarence Brooks, Grandpa shouted, his voice echoing off the walls. And if you don't get out of my way, I will move you myself. The nurse, the one who had held the phone for me, ran out. Chief, she's in surgery. We took her up 10 minutes ago. Grandpa grabbed the counter to steady himself. His big shoulders were shaking. Is she alive? She is fighting, the nurse said. But we need a guardian, her mother. Her mother wouldn't come. I know, Grandpa growled. The anger in his voice was terrifying. Give me the papers. His hands were shaking so bad he could barely hold the pen. He signed his name over and over. Consent for surgery. Consent for blood transfusion. Consent for organ repair. Save her, he told the doctor who came out to update him. He grabbed the doctor by the scrub top. You save that girl. She is all I have, you understand me. You don't let her go. We are doing everything we can, Chief. Then the waiting began. The surgery took 9 hours. They had to remove my spleen. They had to inflate my lung. They had to put pins in my leg and a plate in my arm. I died on the table twice. Both times they shocked me back. For 9 hours, Grandpa Clarence sat in the plastic chair in the waiting room. He didn't turn on the TV. He didn't look at a magazine. He just sat there, staring at the double doors, praying. He was still wearing the apron. Nurses brought him coffee. He didn't drink it. Donovan, his old partner from the force, came by. He brought Grandpa a sandwich. Grandpa didn't eat it. "Go home, Clarence," Donovan said gently. "Get changed, I'll sit here." "No," Grandpa said. "I'm not leaving her, not for a second. She thinks she's alone, Donovan. Her mother made her feel like she's alone. I have to be here so when her soul looks for an anchor, it finds me." "Harmony is at the house," Donovan said, his voice disgusted. "She's packing for the Bahamas." Grandpa's eyes went dark. "Let her pack. When this is over, she's going to wish she had never been born." I survived the surgery, but I didn't wake up. I slipped into a coma. My body was too tired, too broken. They moved me to the ICU. Grandpa moved in with me. He refused to leave. The nurses tried to kick him out when visiting hours ended. He just looked at them and said, "Try it." They let him stay. They brought him a recliner chair. For 18 days, that chair was his home. He slept in bursts of 20 minutes. He washed up in the hospital sink. He ate food from the vending machine. He talked to me constantly. Even though I was in the dark, floating in that black nothingness, I think I heard him. "I'm here, baby girl," he would whisper, holding my uninjured hand. "I'm right here. Grandpa's got you. The house on Folly is ready for you. I bought that special ice cream you like. The mint chocolate chip. It's in the freezer." He read books to me. He told me stories about my dad. He sang old songs that were out of tune. "You fight, Willow," he said on the 10th day when my fever spiked and the doctors were worried. "You fight because I can't do this without you. You are my heart. Don't you dare let that woman win. You hear me? Living is the best revenge. You wake up and you live." On the 15th day, Harmony called the nurse's station. She was back from the Bahamas. "How is she?" she asked. Grandpa took the phone from the nurse. "Harmony," he said. "Dad," she sounded surprised. "Is she awake? We had a great trip, but the flight back was a nightmare. Lost luggage. Is she ready to come home? I don't want a hospital bed in the living room, it's tacky." "She isn't coming to your home," Grandpa said. His voice was calm, which was scarier than if he had yelled. "She is never stepping foot in your house again." "What are you talking about? I'm her mother." "You resigned," Grandpa said. "You resigned on FaceTime while you were getting a facial. Don't come here, Harmony. If you come to this hospital, I will have you arrested for trespassing, and then I will tell the world what you did." He hung up. He went back to my bedside. He smoothed my hair back from my forehead. "It's just us now, kiddo," he whispered. "And that's going to be enough." 3 days later, on the 18th day, I decided to come back. I felt warmth on my hand. It was rough, calloused warmth. It felt like safety. I pushed up through the heavy darkness. I opened my eyes. The first thing I saw was the ceiling tiles. The second thing I saw was him. He looked 10 years older. His beard was gray and overgrown. His eyes were red-rimmed. He was wearing a wrinkled shirt. But when he saw my eyes open, he smiled. It was the most beautiful smile I had ever seen. "Hey there," he croaked, his voice thick with tears. "Welcome back." He squeezed my hand. "I've got you," he said. "I never left." And for the first time in my life, I knew I was safe. While I was sleeping in that white room, fighting to keep my heart beating, the world outside was changing. I didn't know it then. I learned the details later, piece by piece, from court documents and from Donovan, my grandfather's friend. This is what happened while I was in the dark. My mother and Robert and Haven went to the Bahamas. They got on their first-class flight the morning after my accident. They drank champagne. They took pictures of the clouds. They landed in Nassau and went straight to their resort. They posted photos every day. My mother in a cabana. Haven holding a starfish. Robert smoking a cigar at sunset. They looked perfect. They looked happy. They looked like a family that didn't have a daughter dying in a trauma unit 500 miles away. But back in Charleston, Grandpa Clarence was moving mountains. Grandpa had been a police chief for 30 years. He knew the law, he knew judges. And he knew Donovan. Donovan was a shark of a lawyer. He was the kind of man who smiled when he sued people. He had been Grandpa's fishing buddy for decades. On the 3rd day of my coma, Donovan walked into the ICU. He was wearing a 3-piece suit. He looked out of place next to the beeping machines. "It's done, Clarence," he told my grandfather. He handed Grandpa a thick stack of papers. Emergency ex parte order, Donovan said. The judge signed it 10 minutes ago. Given the medical evidence and the recorded FaceTime call, it wasn't hard. You have temporary custody, effective immediately. Grandpa nodded. He put the papers on the nightstand next to my bed like a shield. What about the other thing? Grandpa asked. The civil suit, Donovan grinned. We filed it this morning. Negligence, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and the hospital is joining in. They are flagging her insurance for refusal of necessary care. She's going to be liable for every cent of this bill, Clarence, and it's going to be a big bill. Good, Grandpa said. Hit her where it hurts. Her wallet. Harmony didn't know any of this. She was snorkeling. The reality hit her when they landed back in Charleston. It was a Tuesday. They walked out of the airport terminal, tanned and smiling. Robert was pushing a cart full of expensive luggage. Haven was texting. Harmony was wearing a big straw hat. They were expecting a private car to pick them up. Instead, they found a process server. He was a short man with a receding hairline. He stepped in front of their luggage cart. Harmony Mercer, he asked. Yes, Mom said, annoyed. Please move, our driver is waiting. You have been served, the man said. He slapped a heavy envelope onto her stack of suitcases. Then he dropped another one on Robert's cart. And you, sir, what is this? Robert demanded. Is this a joke? It's a court summons, the man said, and a restraining order. You are not to approach Willow Mercer or the Medical University Hospital. If you do, you will be arrested. People in the airport were staring. Mom turned pale under her tan. Restraining order, she hissed. She's my daughter. Not anymore, the man said. Read the papers. They stood there on the sidewalk reading. I wish I could have seen it. Donovan told me later that Robert started yelling at Harmony right there at the curb. You told me it was handled, Robert shouted. You told me your father was taking care of the bills. I'm being sued for $500,000. Lower your voice, Mom hissed. Don't tell me what to do, Robert threw the papers on the ground. This is your mess, Harmony. You fix it. They got into their car in silence. Things got worse for them fast. The screenshot Haven had posted, the one of me dying with the caption, "Finally some peace," had gone viral locally. You see, I went to a big high school. People knew me. I was quiet, but I was on the track team. I helped people with their homework. I wasn't invisible to everyone. When the news got out that I was in a coma and my family was on vacation, the internet did what the internet does. People found Haven's post. They took screenshots before she could delete it. They shared it. This is sick, someone commented. Her sister is dying and she's drinking smoothies, another wrote. The mother refused surgery. Is that true? By the time Haven got back to school, she was a pariah. Her friends, the mean girls she tried so hard to impress, didn't want to be associated with her. They uninvited her from parties. They kicked her out of the group chat. And Harmony, her perfect social circle began to crack. She was part of a garden club. She was on the committee for the spring gala. 2 days after she got back, the head of the gala committee called her. Harmony, the woman said, we think it's best if you step down this year. Excuse me, Mom asked. I raised the most money last year. Yes, but the rumors, Harmony, about the accident. About you leaving your daughter in the trauma unit. It's unseemly. We can't have that kind of energy at the gala. It's a misunderstanding, Mom pleaded. My father is dramatic. He's twisting things. We've seen the court filing, Harmony. It's public record. Goodbye. Her world was shrinking. The walls of her perfect white house were closing in. Robert was furious. He cared about his reputation more than anything. Developers need good PR. Having a wife who was being sued for child neglect was bad for business. He started sleeping in the guest room. And me, I was still in the bed. I was still fighting. On the 16th day, I got an infection. My fever spiked to 104. My body started to shake. Grandpa held my hand. He put cool cloths on my forehead. Not now, he whispered to me. You don't quit now, Willow. Their house of cards is falling down. You have to wake up to see it. The doctors gave me strong antibiotics. It was touch and go for 24 hours. Grandpa aged 5 years in that one night. He paced the small room. He prayed. He bargained with God. Take me, he whispered. Take me, Lord, I've lived a full life. She's just a baby. Give her my breath. But God didn't take him, and he didn't take me. The fever broke. The infection receded. And 2 days later, I opened my eyes. The legal battle was just starting, but the most important verdict had already been delivered. My mother had chosen her vacation. and in doing so, she had lost her daughter forever. Opening my eyes was hard. It felt like my eyelids were made of lead. The light was the first thing. It was soft, not the harsh bright light of the trauma room. It was afternoon light, filtering through heavy blinds. Then the smell. Antiseptic floor wax and Old Spice. I knew that smell. It was Grandpa. I turned my head. It took a lot of effort. My neck was stiff. My throat felt like I had swallowed a handful of sand. Grandpa was sitting in a recliner chair next to my bed. He was asleep. His head was tipped back and his mouth was slightly open. He was snoring softly. He looked terrible. His shirt was wrinkled. He had a beard which I had never seen on him before. He looked smaller somehow, deflated. "Grandpa," I tried to say. No sound came out, just a raspy breath. I tried again. I licked my dry lips. "Grandpa," it was barely a whisper, but he heard it. He woke up instantly. His eyes snapped open. He looked at me, disoriented for a second. Then recognition flooded his face. "Willow," he launched himself out of the chair. He grabbed the bed rail. "Willow, are you there, baby girl?" I nodded slightly. "Water." He fumbled for a cup with a straw. He held it to my lips. Slowly, just a sip. The water was cold and wonderful. It soothed the fire in my throat. I looked at him. I saw tears welling up in his eyes. "You came back," he said, his voice cracking. "I told them you would. You came back." "How long?" I whispered. 18 days, he said. "You've been asleep for 18 days. 18 days. I tried to process that. I had missed Easter. I had missed school. Then the memory hit me, the crash, the rain, the phone call. "If she doesn't make it, just call me when it's over." My heart rate monitor started to speed up. Beep. Beep, 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 beep. "Where is she?" I asked. I looked at the door, terrified that Harmony would walk in with her criticism and her cold eyes. Grandpa put his big hand on my shoulder. "Calm down, Willow, look at me." I looked at him. "She is not here," he said firmly. "And she is not coming." "She refused," I said. Tears started to leak out of the corners of my eyes. "She wouldn't sign the paper." "I know," Grandpa said. "I know everything." He pointed to the wall at the foot of my bed. There was a white dry erase board. It had the date, the name of my nurse, Sarah, and my room number. And under that it said, "Legal Guardian." I squinted, "Clarence Brooks." "Read it," Grandpa said. "Clarence Brooks," I whispered. "That's right," he said. "I went to a judge, Willow. I told him what happened. I showed him the logs. You don't belong to her anymore. You belong to me. Legally, officially, and permanently." I stared at the name, Clarence Brooks. It wasn't just a name, it was a life raft. "She doesn't have rights?" I asked. "None," he said. "She can't make decisions for you. She can't take you home. She can't even come onto this floor. I have a restraining order." A huge weight, when I hadn't realized I was carrying my whole life, suddenly lifted off my chest. I didn't have to go back to the room over the garage. I didn't have to watch them eat dinner without me. I didn't have to beg for her attention. But then another question came. "Why?" I asked. "Why did she do it?" Grandpa's face hardened. He reached into the drawer of the bedside table. "I didn't want to show you this yet," he said. "But you need to know exactly who we are dealing with. You need to know so you never, ever feel guilty for leaving them." He pulled out his phone. He opened an image and held it up for me. It was the screenshot. Me bleeding on the gurney, and Haven's caption, "Finally some peace." I stared at it. That was my sister, my little sister. I had babysat her. I had taught her how to tie her shoes, and she looked at my dying body and saw relief. "She sent this to her friends," Grandpa said. "While you were in surgery." I felt sick. "They don't love me," I said. It was a statement, not a question. "No," Grandpa said. "They don't know how to love. There is something broken in them, Willow, both of them. They are hollow people." He put the phone away and took my hand again. He squeezed it tight. "But listen to me," he said. "Family isn't blood. It's not who you look like. It's not who gave birth to you." He leaned in close. "I chose you," he said. "When you were born, I held you and I promised your daddy I would watch out for you. I failed for a long time. I let them push you away, but I am not failing anymore. I am choosing you, Willow. Every day, I will always choose you." I looked at this old man. He looked tired and messy and beautiful. He had slept in a chair for 18 days. He had fought a judge. He had saved my life. He was my dad. In every way that mattered, he was my dad. "Can I come home with you?" I asked. "To Folly?" "That's the plan," he smiled. "I already painted the spare room. It's sea salt blue, and I bought a new bed, a comfortable one, no garage, you're right down the hall from me." "And the shrimp?" I asked. He laughed, a deep, rumbling sound that filled the room. "We have so much shrimp, kid. We're going to be eating shrimp and grits until you turn 20. I closed my eyes. The tears were still falling, but they weren't hot and stinging anymore. They felt like a release. I grieved for the mother I never had. I grieved for the sister who hated me. I grieved for the girl I used to be, the one who tried so hard to be good enough for them. That girl died on the highway. The girl in the hospital bed was different. She was broken, yes. She had scars. She had a long road ahead of her, but she had a guardian. She had a home. And for the first time, she had a chance. Okay, I whispered. I'm ready. Rest now, Grandpa said, patting my hand. We have a lot of work to do when you get strong. We're going to rebuild everything. I drifted back to sleep, but this time it wasn't the black void of a coma. It was just sleep. Peaceful, safe sleep. I slept under the watch of Clarence Brooks, my guardian, my hero, my father. Going home didn't mean going back to James Island. It meant going to Folly Beach. When I was finally discharged from the hospital, I was still in a wheelchair. I had a cast on my leg, a brace on my arm, and a scar running down the center of my chest that looked like a zipper. Grandpa lifted me out of the wheelchair and into his truck. He had put a step stool there to help me, but I was too weak to use it. He picked me up like I was a toddler. Easy does it, he grunted. I've got you. The drive to Folly Beach was different than any drive I had taken before. We rolled the windows down. The air smelled like pluff mud and salt water. It was thick and heavy, but it felt clean. When we pulled into his driveway, I saw the ramp. He had built a wooden ramp over his front stairs. The wood was fresh and pale yellow. When did you do this? I asked. Nights, he said. Donovan came over and helped. We can't have you hopping upstairs on one leg. Inside, the cottage was small. It wasn't like the big white house with the equi hallways. This house was stuffed full. There were books everywhere. There were fishing rods in the corner. There were photos of my dad on the mantel. This is your room, he said, wheeling me down the hall. He pushed the door open. The walls were painted a soft, pale blue, sea salt blue. There was a big bed with a fluffy white duvet. There were fairy lights strung around the window. And on the dresser, there was a framed picture of me winning my track meet. I didn't even know he had that picture. He must have taken it from far away. It's perfect, I said. My recovery was slow. It was painful. Physical therapy was a torture chamber. 3 times a week, Grandpa drove me to the clinic. I had to learn how to bend my knee again. I had to learn how to lift my arm without screaming. There were days I cried. There were days I threw things. I can't do it, I yelled one Tuesday, throwing a resistance band across the room. It hurts too much. I'm never going to run again. Grandpa didn't yell back. He just picked up the band. You will run, he said calmly. Maybe not today, maybe not next month, but you have Brooks' blood in you, Willow. We don't stay down. He was my nurse, my cook, and my cheerleader. Every night he made dinner. It was always something heavy and comforting. Shrimp and grits, fried flounder, low-country boil with corn and potatoes. You need meat on those bones, he'd say, piling more shrimp onto my plate. You're too skinny. We developed a rhythm. In the mornings, we sat on the back deck and watched the sunrise over the marsh. We drank coffee, lots of milk, and sugar for me. We watched the dolphins hunting in the creek. That's the matriarch, Grandpa would point out. See her dorsal fin? It's nicked. She leads the whole pod. I felt like that dolphin. Nicked, scarred, but still swimming. While I was healing, the world back on James Island was crumbling. I didn't ask about them, but Grandpa told me. He thought I needed to know. Robert moved out, he told me one night over dinner. I paused, a hush-puppy halfway to my mouth. He left her, filed for divorce on Monday, Grandpa said. He cited irreconcilable differences, but Donovan says it's really about the money. The lawsuit froze their joint assets. Robert didn't like his bank accounts being locked up because of Harmony's negligence. He cut bait and ran. I felt a strange sense of satisfaction. Robert had always treated me like an unwanted piece of furniture. Now he was treating Harmony the same way. And Haven? I asked. Grandpa sighed. Haven is having a hard time. The school administration got involved after the cyberbullying reports. She was suspended for 2 weeks. When she went back, nobody would sit with her at lunch. She lost her spot on the cheer squad. She loved cheer, I said quietly. She should have loved her sister more, Grandpa said. 6 weeks after I got home, my phone rang. I looked at the screen. Unknown number. I usually didn't answer unknown numbers, but I was expecting a call from the insurance company. Hello, Willow. The voice was thin and shaky. It sounded like my mother, but it also sounded like a stranger. My stomach dropped. What do you want? "Willow, please don't hang up," she said. She was crying. I had never heard my mother cry like this. It wasn't a pretty, theatrical cry. It was a messy, desperate sound. "I need to talk to you. You have to tell your grandfather to stop." "Stop what?" I asked. My hand was shaking. "The lawsuit," she sobbed. "He's taking everything. Robert left me, Willow. He took the car. He took the investments. All I have is the house, and now the lawyers are saying I might have to sell it to pay the judgment. You can't let them take my house." "You didn't care about my house," I said. "You moved me to a garage." "I was stressed," she wailed. "I made a mistake. I'm your mother. Doesn't that mean anything to you? I carried you for 9 months." "You left me for 18 days, I said. My voice was surprisingly steady. "You went to a spa while I was bleeding out." "I didn't think it was that serious," she screamed. "The doctors were exaggerating, and now I've lost my husband, my friends won't talk to me, and I'm going to be bankrupt. Isn't that enough punishment? Please, Willow, tell him to drop the case. Come home, we can fix this, I'll give you your old room back." I closed my eyes. I imagined my old room. I imagined the cold hallway. I imagined the silence at the dinner table. "I am home," I said. "What? I am home," I repeated. "I'm at Folly Beach. I'm with my dad." "He is not your father," she shrieked. "He is a senile old man." "He showed up," I said. "You didn't." I hung up the phone, then I blocked the number. I sat there for a long time, staring at the marsh. I waited to feel guilty. I waited for that old feeling, the feeling that I was a bad daughter, that I owed her something. But it didn't come. Instead, I felt lighter. Grandpa walked out onto the deck. He had 2 mugs of hot chocolate. He saw my face. "She called?" he asked. "Yeah, you okay?" "Yeah," I said, and I meant it. "I'm okay." He sat down next to me. We watched the sun go down. The sky turned purple and orange. "I can walk to the pier today," I said suddenly. "It's a long walk, Willow," Grandpa said. "I can do it," I said. "I'm ready." I grabbed my cane. I stood up. It hurt. My hip always ached when it rained or when I sat too long, but I pushed through it. We walked slow. Grandpa stayed right beside me, ready to catch me if I stumbled. We made it to the end of the pier. The ocean was crashing below us. The wind whipped my hair across my face. I took a deep breath. I filled my healed lung with salt air. I was broken, stitched back together, and limping. But I was standing on my own 2 feet. The day of the hearing was hot. It was July in Charleston. The air was so thick you could chew it. I wore a navy blue dress that Grandpa bought me. It had long sleeves to cover the scars on my arms. I wore flats because I still couldn't wear heels. Grandpa wore his best suit. He had trimmed his beard. He looked like a statue of justice carved out of granite. "You ready?" he asked me in the truck. "No," I said honestly. "But let's go." The courthouse was freezing. It smelled like floor polish and anxiety. We walked into the courtroom. It was smaller than I expected. There was a judge's bench, 2 tables, and a few rows of seats. My mother was already there. She looked diminished. Her hair, usually perfectly highlighted and blown out, looked dull. She was wearing a gray suit that looked a little too big for her. She wasn't wearing makeup. She looked at me when I walked in. Her eyes widened. She took a step toward me. "Willow," she whispered. Grandpa stepped between us. He didn't say a word. He just used his body as a wall. He guided me to the plaintiff's table. Donovan was there. He winked at me. "Showtime, kid." Robert wasn't there. He had sent a lawyer to represent his financial interests, but he hadn't bothered to show up in person. Haven was there. She was sitting in the back row, huddled in a hoodie. She looked small. She wouldn't look at me. The judge walked in. Judge Patterson. He was an older man with glasses and a stern face. "All rise," the bailiff shouted. We sat. The hearing was for the permanent termination of parental rights and the finalization of the adoption. It was also to determine the damages for the civil suit. Donovan didn't waste time. "Your Honor," Donovan said, standing up, "this case is not about a simple accident. It is about a pattern of neglect that culminated in a moment of near-fatal cruelty. We intend to show that Harmony Mercer is unfit to be a mother, and that Willow Mercer's best interests are solely with her grandfather, Clarence Brooks." "Proceed," the judge said. "I would like to play Exhibit A," Donovan said. The recording of the FaceTime call between Dr. Evans and the defendant, Harmony Mercer, on the night of April 9th. Harmony's lawyer stood up. "Objection, Your Honor. This recording was taken without my client's express written consent. It was an emergency medical situation," the judge said. "Overruled, play it." A large screen on the wall flickered to life. The sound was loud. "If she doesn't make it, just call me when it's over." My mother's voice boomed through the quiet courtroom. It sounded even colder than I remembered. I watched the judge's face. He didn't blink. He just stared at the screen, watching my mother adjust her face mask while the doctor begged for my life. Then the screenshot appeared. Haven's post. Finally some peace. A gasp went through the courtroom. I looked back. A few reporters were sitting in the back row. They were scribbling furiously. Harmony put her head in her hands. Then it was my turn. "I call Willow Mercer to the stand," Donovan said. I walked up the few steps. I sat in the wooden chair. I swore to tell the truth. "Willow," Donovan asked gently, "can you tell the court what happened that day?" I took a breath. I looked at my mother. She was looking down at the table. "I asked if I could go on the trip," I said. My voice was clear. "They told me no. They told me I was ungrateful. They left me in the house alone." "And after the accident?" Donovan asked. "Do you remember the call?" "Yes," I said. I couldn't speak, but I could see. I wanted her to tell me she loved me. I wanted her to come. "And what did she do?" "She sighed," I said. "She was annoyed that I was interrupting her spa day." I looked directly at the judge. "I learned something that day," I said. "I learned that I was disposable to them. I was just something that took up space in their house. I wasn't a daughter, I was a nuisance." "And how has living with your grandfather been?" I smiled. I couldn't help it. "He saved me," I said. "He slept in a chair for 18 days. He learned how to cook low-sodium meals for my heart. He drives me to therapy. He talks to me. He sees me." "Thank you, Willow," Donovan said. Harmony's lawyer tried to cross-examine me. "Willow," he said, slick and oily, "isn't it true that you were a difficult teenager, that you were distant, that you often stayed in your room?" "I stayed in my room because I wasn't welcome in the house," I said. "But your mother provided for you. She gave you a home, food, clothes." "She gave me a garage," I corrected him. "And she gave me a bill for my existence. She made me feel like I owed her for breathing." The lawyer paused. He didn't have anywhere to go. "No further questions," he muttered. Then Harmony took the stand. "It was a disaster for her." "I was in shock," she claimed. "I didn't understand the severity." "The doctor told you she was dying," Donovan pointed out. He used those exact words. "Your daughter is dying." What part of that was unclear? I panic in medical situations," she stammered. "You didn't panic," Donovan said. "You booked a massage." The trial lasted 4 hours. When it was over, Judge Patterson didn't retire to his chambers to deliberate. He didn't need to. He stacked his papers. He looked over his glasses at Harmony. "Mrs. Mercer," he said. His voice was like gravel. "I have sat on this bench for 20 years. I have seen criminals, murderers, and thieves, but I have rarely seen a callousness as chilling as what I saw on that video." Harmony flinched. "You had a duty," the judge said. "A sacred duty to protect that child. You failed. You didn't just fail, you abdicated your role entirely." He turned to me. His expression softened. "Willow," he said, "the court finds that it is in your best interest to be permanently removed from the custody of your mother." He banged his gavel. Bam. "I am granting the petition for adoption. Mr. Clarence Brooks is now your legal father." Bam. "Furthermore," the judge continued, "I am ruling in favor of the plaintiff in the civil suit. Mrs. Mercer, you are ordered to pay all medical expenses incurred by the accident, totaling $230,000. Additionally, for pain and suffering and emotional distress, I am awarding the plaintiff $250,000. Bam. Court is adjourned. The room erupted in noise. Harmony burst into tears. She tried to run toward me. Willow, please, I don't have that kind of money. You can't let him do this." The bailiff stepped in front of her. "Step back, ma'am." I stood up. Grandpa was there. He wrapped his arm around me. "It's over," he whispered. I looked at Harmony one last time. She was sobbing, her hands grasping at the air, terrified of the ruin she had brought upon herself. I didn't feel happy. Didn't feel sad, I felt done. "Let's go, Grandpa," I said. "I want to go home." We walked out of the courtroom together. We walked past the reporters. We walked past Haven, who was crying silently in the back row. We walked out into the bright, hot Charleston sun. I was free. The day the adoption papers arrived, I officially became Willow Brooks. Grandpa and I celebrated with coffee in our kitchen on Folly Beach. My mother's life, meanwhile, had collapsed. To pay the court judgment, she sold the big white house and moved into a small apartment. I heard she was working as a receptionist, but honestly, I didn't care. I felt nothing for her anymore, just a quiet distance. I rebuilt my life. I graduated valedictorian, with Grandpa blowing an air horn in the front row. I went to college, became a trauma counselor, and married a kind man who knew that breaking my heart meant answering to Grandpa. When I walked down the aisle, Grandpa gave me away, but we both knew he was keeping me too. Now, at 26, I help teenagers who feel invisible, just like I did. I tell them the truth I learned that Easter Sunday. Family isn't blood. One evening, sitting on the deck watching dolphins with Grandpa, I looked at his worn hands and realized the accident didn't take my life. It saved it. It stripped away the fake family and gave me the real one. My mother refused to pause her spa day to save me, but this man slept in a chair for 18 days to keep me alive. Family isn't a birth certificate. Family is who answers the phone. Family is who stays. And we stayed.